Perfect. And we're live. So, welcome everyone to the Weekly Vol. We're back again with another episode. It's been another exciting week in the markets. I feel like markets are just picking up left, right, and center. And so, naturally, the attention has really come back to crypto, significantly more so in the past couple of weeks, the last week as well, especially compared to earlier on this year. Today we're joined by the amazing guys from Ostium. So super glad to have you guys on. I think it's a protocol that I've been playing around with myself as a trader, and also just as a fan of derivatives in general. I think I actually even made some content about some of the funding rate arbs that you could do on Ostium, which was pretty cool. But yeah, pleasure to have you guys on. First of all, just wanted to say, like, how are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, just after Thanksgiving here. So, yeah, excited to see the market be picking up.
Yeah. Excited for this discussion today with you guys.
So I guess first things first, like one question I want to ask both of you: what have you been trading like over the last week? Like, what kind of positions do you have?
I have a Solana. Marco can. Marco, I think, has a lot more positions open than I do right now. I have a Solana long that I opened the night of the election. That's I actually still haven't closed. I should have just closed it right after it blew past the all-time high, but it's retraced a little, but still open. And then I have an ETH long that I opened a couple days ago. I think I almost got whipped out like yesterday, but I survived. So, yeah, those are. And then I hold a bunch of other stuff in spot, but those are sort of my current lever positions open.
Yeah, I would say on the perp side, on my side, I opened some big sort of like moderately leveraged ETH positions when the ETH BTC price was basically like below the trend line. So it's been moving in this sort of like funnel for a while. And so I think like ETH was very, very oversold compared to BTC when BTC sort of first attempted to reach 100K. And so I decided to open like some big ETH positions that I actually plan to hold for the cycle. I'm expecting to be a big like ETH rally in the upcoming weeks and months. So quite bullish that. So that's by far my largest position. Besides that, just trying to find some ecosystems that are growing like more than others. I did some Solana meme coin trading before. I feel like the space, it's a little bit like everyone is front running each other at a speed that I can't keep like the pace off without a more systematic system. So I'm actually looking at like, sort of other opportunities in other chains like Sui for those kinds of bets.
Interesting. And like when you trade, do you like mix it up with some spot, some perps, maybe even some options, or like do you have like a perps only thing?
I actually do perps only. Yeah. I feel like, with perps, you can basically get the payouts for any combination of options. And most of the times when traders use options is because, they either don't have like the levels of leverage that they want, right? And they can't mimic sort of that exposure with perpetual futures. I think perpetual futures are just simpler to use and very, and also like the hedging and the deltas are like, way more simple to model like between the assets that you have positions open for. So it makes more sense for me.
No, makes sense. Mo, what have you been trading over the last week?
In terms of leverage, I've been holding a long on WIF, dog with hat.
But anything specific that's happened this week there that made you want to trade? That made you want to trade with?
I've been holding it for like a few weeks. It 4.8, but it went down a bit, and then it got listed on Robinhood, I believe, a few days ago.
Yes.
So I believe this can be a runner potentially.
Marco, you've got a smile on your face. I don't know if you think.
No, I'm just saying
we were both very early to whiff, but we still. At least I sold way too early. It was before things got really crazy. I found it in last December, like very, very early, and I held it until like early Jan, and that was a mistake. I thought I was too smart by stepping out of it.
I just find it so funny in the Solana like meme coin ecosystem how like some coins like act right that after like a few weeks of being launched, same with Peanut, got like Binance listings right away, right? And other coins that have been around with communities for a year and everyone is like sort of praying and like, really like this hope wishful thinking that like the sex listings are going to come. There's so much speculation on that, which is so interesting. So I feel like a lot of the big coins, right, like everyone that holds really large positions on them are just like waiting for that sex like exit liquidity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sorry, Mo, I think we cut you off there. I think you were going to say something else as well at the end.
Yeah, I was basically gonna say that was on the leveraged side, and on the spot side, I'm just holding some animal meme coins, some AI meme coins, and some AI agent coins.
But like really trying to hit all of the narratives there, right?
Yeah, if one hits,
I think-
one won't.
I think Marco can probably speak. I mean, both of us, but especially.
Oh, have we lost her? Oh no.
Speak to. Did I just cut out?
Yeah, I think your connection is okay. Anyway, Mo, we can pivot this. I'm actually very curious to hear. So, like right now, the virtual platform on Base is really sort of booming in terms of AI agents.
Yep.
I'm very curious, like how when you look at all these AI agents, like how do you choose the ones that have the most upside? Is it like AI agents that you personally would use? Is it like sort of a meta that you're looking for? Like, is it like how competent the team behind it is? Like, what are the signals you're looking at?
I mean, I think this would be a nice time to actually share my screen. So, let me guys let me know if you guys can see this, right? So this is AI XBT. I think we might have Caladora back in. Okay, perfect. So yeah, let me just go back to sharing my screen. So you asked like, what is it that kind of what is it about like one of these like virtual AI agents that kind of interests you? And like for me, this was like one of the only ones that actually interested me, purely because this was something that actually was providing actionable kind of intelligence through its tweets. And so like as soon as I saw this, I bought it. But I mean the chart looks absolutely insane now. Just kind of pretty much being up only for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, for me to put it simply, if it's something that I can see like really, really high quality value from, then absolutely, like, that will be it. And yeah, AI XBT has definitely been one of them for sure. I think there's quite a few that have been really, really interesting, but like to me, this has been one of the most interesting ones. Now, I'm not going to advise anyone to top blast this right now because I think
So what's the what's the FTV on this? What's the market cap?
it's 200 million. But
oh my god. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to top blast that.
No. But like
this is already more than Dasha, right, on Solana. It's really incredible how Base like was able to like capture all the like virtual AI agent attention so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where the things that I personally was looking at. But I'm interested to hear like what all of you are looking at because I think all of us have kind of dabbled in this a little bit.
I feel like, in my personal opinion, right, and that sort of also connects to what we do at Ostium in a way. Like the biggest challenge as a trader during this like sort of meme coin bull market is really being able to capture all the information that we deem reliable and convert it into trades. It's really complicated, right? We all follow all these influencers and all these people, and we all have a mental score on how reliable they are, right? And we also do some wallet tracking, and we wait to see like, what these wallets are doing. But sometimes they sort of switch them and move the funds to another wallet, so the signals don't work anymore. So if there was like an AI agent that allows us to sort of have this communication on, okay, this are the information that I deem reliable, I was already able to sort of determine that, right? So I want to fine tune you to look at this information because I know that you're going to be less ADHD than me, right? And you're going to be slightly more competent in putting this information together and convert it into actionable trades. So I really think this is not only true in the meme coin space, but also in the macro markets. If you want to try to build up a position in oil or gold or silver or some other market, you have all these different sources of information, and you have little weights in your head on like how relevant you think each piece of information is. So for you, this is like quite exciting, right? Like to how do I convert this into an actionable trade? And I really think AI agents could be sort of your partner in crime in trading, right? In helping you sort of fine tune that information and convert it into like specific trades. So I feel like the biggest use case for these AI agents is trading, because the reason why they exist is because people are excited about trading. So that's the most immediate number one use case. And of course, art like Zero Bro and others are also like pretty interesting and will build strong communities around. But I think the trading applications of it will be the number one sort of, things that they will be optimizing for.
Yeah,
I agree with Marco on the near term. I have the thing that I would really, really love running a company would be like a fully automated EA. So like an AI agent that it could just do I mean, like we have the tools. I think the reasons that like this doesn't exist or exists in a form that people are comfortable using is mostly because of security issues. But this would be somebody that would just do all of the operational minutia that is not super fun to do.
Yeah.
Booking flights, booking a hotel, like handling, sorting through the inbox, telling me exactly what is the most important thing for me to address, reminding me and pinging me over and over if there's some urgent item that I haven't seen.
yeah,
Basically sorting through information. Basically what Marco is saying, right? Which is there's a million pieces of information coming at you when you're a trader, but also when you're running a company, and parsing through that information in a way, like in a rapid way, and then being able to actually execute on telling you what the immediate next action item is. And in the case of like this, that would be actually just like executing on the next action item. That would be my dream. And I also think like this will definitely exist. I don't know how. You definitely have to have like the docs stored in some secure enclave. Like you'd have to know that it's not going to run away with your credit card or your social security number. These models are still very leaky. And I think that's the primary reason why large enterprise customers don't, a lot of these like companies behind the foundational models spend so much money on trying to convince large enterprise customers to use them, because they are rightly so often concerned about the information leakage or the security implications of using one of these models. It's certainly gotten better, and I'm no AI expert. I'll caveat what I'm saying with that, but certainly there have been instances of these models leaking, like credit card information or other things. That security is the hardest thing, and that's what's going to care about your insecurity. You could probably train a model to do this for you now already in some more limited form. But I'm very hopeful that this would really democratize basically the access to like labor for the average person. Like I don't think people realize how much more effective and efficient you could get when you have somebody that works with you to sort of just, you think of something, they execute on like the task that doesn't require so much context, or they bring to your attention what you need to focus on. So it's like a huge, insane productivity boost. I don't think the average person realizes how incredible it is to have somebody who can work hand in glove with you to reassess and like resort through your priorities. I think it would like dramatically increase productivity, allow people to focus on the more important stuff. So that's personally what I'm excited for, but it's not very crypto. It's not very trading related.
By the way, Cal, I think you bring up a really interesting point on with regards to sort of the boundaries of AI. I feel like we haven't seen some serious problem, like a serious like coordinated hack or something led by AI agents. But once that happens, I think there's going to be a company that focuses on like delegation of powers on AI that will arise. I really think so. I think it's something that will become quite relevant in the upcoming like months and years, because the great thing about like permissionless systems is that like the delegation powers and what each sort of agent is allowed to do is very programmable. And this is one of the sole things that, in my opinion, will like be entirely programmed by us humans at all points. Like we cannot like allow AI agents to define delegation powers of other AI agents,
Very
right?
interesting
Otherwise,
point.
this is where we lose control, right? Like the upstream delegation is sort of the most important feature out there. And this is what we still need to be in control of, right? To sort of create the boundaries of action of these agents, right? For example, if you're dealing with a smart contract, right, you can give him delegation to trade pairs up to a certain range of leverage. But outside of that, like they cannot have delegation for transfers or things like that. Like it's not a good idea to give like AI agents sort of the private key to sign transactions when they can do a lot of other things, including moving the money out with it. And I feel like a lot of this like AI agents right now like do not have the proper delegation powers on smart contracts. So we're definitely going to see some sort of coordinated like mess in the upcoming months when they like decide to do things outside of their scope.
It's crypto. There's always going to be some drama at some point in time anyway. So yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, I think some sort of encryption is needed on Caladora's point, and on your point. Yeah, I think some parameters in place to kind of make sure that it doesn't go a little bit too wild. Definitely something that's interesting.
Do you have a favorite last AI question? Do you have a favorite model? I've just seen a lot of people, and I found this actually happen, maybe not to the same degree, but there's a lot of people on perhaps more like tech Twitter rather than crypto Twitter, talking about how so many of their friends have developed a like parasocial relationship with Claude. I have not experienced things to the same degree, but I have like a very strong preference for which like model I use depending on what the specific task is. And for anything that requires more like human judgment or discernment, Claude is by far my favorite. For anything that requires like wider information gathering, Perplexity is by far my favorite. I don't really use ChatGPT that much anymore, to be honest.
No,
I use it out of like, what'd you say?
I said I use Perplexity the most.
Okay. Perplexity is great for like the kind of question that you might ask to Google, but you want a more well-researched and like thoughtful and comprehensive answer from Perplexity. For anything that's like, how do I deal with XYZ issue, you know, I don't know, in my company or my personal life, or exactly as I mentioned, like more discernment. Claude is the language, almost the tone. It has like a very distinct personality from Perplexity, which is very dry. Anyways, last.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch on AI again in a moment. I think what would be nice is to kind of talk a little bit about kind of what's happening in the market. So I mean, I'll pull up the Bitcoin chart here. Mo, you want to talk us through a little bit about what's happening at the moment and like kind of where you see things going, and some areas that you've kind of mapped out as well. That would be kind of nice to hear.
Yeah, so we're basically at the same price point we were at last Friday, I believe. We were still ranging around between 98 and 99K. We dipped, I believe, towards 91K, which was kind of predicted after all these sort of rallies, non-stop price discovery. So like a 10% retracement wouldn't be that worrying. On the other hand, it should be like an opportunity to buy more. So it was kind of obvious that it should be bought. In my opinion, I do believe that we can see 100K Bitcoin tonight, if not in the next 2 to 3 hours, because it's only like a 1.5% move, or maybe 2%. Other than that, I don't believe that 100K will be that much of a resistance, because like the moment you surpass around K or $1 or like any round number for a coin, like I believe that you can see a massive short squeeze after, because many people would believe that 100K is a resistance, which will drive up the open interest by a lot, and I believe market makers will squeeze everybody out and maybe pull it up towards 105. That's just my opinion.
Interesting. And the rest of you as well, kind of what were your thoughts about it? Like in the kind of shorter term, do you think like this pullback was like, you know, this 10% pullback that we had, you know, end of last week? Do you think that was sufficient, or do you think like, you know, we could see more drawbacks coming before kind of rallying into a 6-figure Bitcoin?
It's a good question. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think the correction was also about like BTC dominance. That was really sort of an all-time high compared to like ETH and the alts. And due to that, I feel like part of the pullback, as we saw, like ETH barely went down, barely corrected, meaning that it's probably reallocation of capital within like cryptocurrencies. So I don't see, it's not like a capital flight or like a massive sort of like, you know, take profit like forcing function on the price. So my expectation, like personally, is that it was just a healthy correction after like a really big rally, and I just expect things to continue this way. I also do expect, I'm sort of in the boat of the people that believe that once we cross 100K and all those sort of like big like sell orders like get liquidated, I do expect like a big rally afterwards, something on the range of like 110 or even above, like quite quickly.
Yeah, that would be quite nice. Like a 15% move up. One thing that you actually mentioned earlier was like you're kind of feeling a lot more bullish on ETH at the moment. So yeah, I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts, like kind of how you're trading ETH at the moment. I know you're long ETH, but like, are you kind
We've
of just
been bullish ETH and abs. Marco is more I think shorter term trading. I do maybe more longer trends, and
okay.
we've been like a bullish ETH and abs for the last, I don't know, year plus, and we've just gotten sort of clobbered.
Yep.
I wouldn't even say I'm hopeful at this point. I'm like highly confident, and I think the history will be in our favor. Especially, I mean, even with we can talk about this after, but the recent the hyperliquid airdrop last night. I I think we really are seeing. I call this not the. I think we're seeing both the flipping, perhaps not the flippening, because that implies larger market cap for ETH than for Bitcoin, which it seems not immediately plausible, but the flappening, as I call it, which is the flipping of apps to infrastructure. The narrative in the meta has really changed, and people have been hinting at this for the last 6 months, but I think the recent hyperliquid airdrop like fully cements that.
I think we lost
The last. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think you
Sorry.
just for a moment, but that's okay.
Anyways, I was just yapping about the return of apps and the return of ETH. So
Yeah.
Marco can take it away on a more
Waj,
technical
if
session.
yeah, sure. Waj, if you open the chart, yeah, my entry is like the first one, and I think like the best entry during this cycle was really like after the election kicks in, because obviously the market took a bit to adjust. So that entry at 2.4 was like really, really great. I don't think we're gonna revisit like that point, maybe ever, but certainly not in the bull market. And then like afterwards, there was that consolidation around 3K. That was another really good entry. And I feel like, just like we see the price action in a bull market, we see a lot of like big pumps and then a consolidation area. And so what I encourage people is that if you actually zoom in on this like last thing that you just rounded, you'll see that like the support level is tested like 5, 6, 7 times, right? And we always sort of like rebound from that. And so those support levels are the best possible entries, like in this sort of stepwise upwards function in a bull market that people should be looking at. And then at around 3.3K level, you see those support levels being tested like 3 times, like pretty strongly again. The third time that led to the sort of like going out of that consolidation level. So I think that I expect this pattern to follow like in the upcoming weeks and months.
Something like this again.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting. I think we've kind of talked about this. I think we spoke about it last week on the show, actually. So yeah, I think we're in agreement there. It feels like, I don't know about you guys, but what do you feel about the sentiment of Bitcoin versus ETH? Do you think that it could actually get any worse from here?
I really don't think so. Like with regards to the ETH BTC, I feel like we're reaching a bottom there. We're still sort of in that funnel. So like maybe can you pull up the ETH BTC like chart?
Yes, absolutely. Let's zoom
So
out.
if you zoom in, let's say day long candles. Yeah, you'll see that better. So you can see if you zoom out, like it's quite long. It's like an almost 2-year pattern.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. From
But-
there.
Exactly, but there's this sort of exactly there's this sort of funnel that like we can draw of the price like going down, and I feel like we would need to break out of this funnel in order to like see sort of a big reversal.
Yeah.
But I do think that historically speaking, we're at like really on the end tail of the distribution. And we see that every single time that there was sort of a massive inflow into like Ethereum and alts and sort of like a crypto, like quote unquote bull market, the dominance of Ethereum has spiked significantly. I do believe that because of the massive like institutional inflows into Bitcoin, countries announcing like Bitcoin sort of special reserves and all of that, we could probably see like slightly like a continuation of this trend for a few more months, but I definitely expect a reversal at some point. But again, Bitcoin has a lot of like tailwinds because of especially like the government announced like special reserves and a lot of the massive pension funds like promising allocations to Bitcoin and all of that. So, but I do think that that's a little bit independent of everything else that is happening in crypto. I also expect a correlation between BTC and ETH to become like less significant across time. This is another one of my theses because I feel like the drivers for BTC and ETH will be very different in the future. I actually expect like ETH to be way more driven by, way more correlated with the S&P and with all the action in crypto and all the big companies in crypto, and BTC to be more its own thing, just like gold, for example. Like as
Yeah,
time goes on.
it makes sense, right? Like ETH more trading like a tech stock and
Yeah.
Bitcoin trading more like gold. I guess that means possible 10x in Bitcoin's price to get anywhere near gold's market cap, but that would be kind of fun to see over the years for sure.
Another thing, Waj, that I feel like we should sort of cover in
Yeah.
the podcast today is really the Ripple price action. It's really
interesting.
Oh,
we do. I have to say that, like, kudos to the, like, if anyone is listening to us like from the Ripple gang, like you guys waited like through lawsuits and everything, and you kind of deserve this, but it's truly incredible.
so
Right?
crazy. Oh my God.
This is like erasing like 3 years of pain in like 1 week.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my
Can you
goodness.
pull up the ADA chart, the Cardano chart? Because this
Yeah.
is a broader question around like what are normies trading when they come back in to the market? And are they trading the new stuff or are they trading the same old stuff? And it looks like the answer is the same old stuff, which is
Oh my gosh.
always shocks me.
The craziest one that I saw was Stellar Lumens. I didn't even know.
Oh yeah.
I think this is
XLM.
Yeah. This was the craziest.
Oh my
thing.
God.
Yeah.
It's crazy. People are still trading the same stuff. I'd have to log back into like the Coinbase mobile app and see what are the top things that are advertised, but
I mean, this is
it's
insane.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's time to go back to Binance. Binance perps.
I mean, I have not traded any of these like Dino coins whatsoever.
Nobody who's crypto native trades this stuff, but
No.
all the new entrants, I mean, we're the idiots, I guess, here.
Yeah. Mo, have you traded any of these?
The last time I've touched this was probably back in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the one thing that I've been enjoying is of course Hyperliquid. I've got my little plushie here and enjoyed the airdrop today. What are your thoughts around kind of how everything around the Hyperliquid ecosystem has been? I mean, it's been pretty phenomenal when it comes to like product. I think they've done a great job there, and now it's trading at 5.5 billion FTV, which is pretty crazy. Any thoughts there? I mean, look, airdrops have changed now. I think like I think the last few airdrops have been pretty much up only. I remember there was grass, and there was something else as well that launched fairly recently. That
Can you pull up the grass chart? I was gonna say all my trading, not all of them, I guess the ones that are not, there's like the Solana shitcoin chats and then there's the like general trading chats, and so many people who shall remain unnamed have been bull posting grass. I did not buy, which maybe was a mistake, but
I mean, this launched at like
so there was
70 cents or something like that, and so it's up like 460% at the top, like from airdrop, and yeah, pretty wild. I think this one as well.
insane.
It's really interesting.
These are kind of some of
Can
the
you-
coins that I've been trading a little bit more.
Can you pull up how much of the initial supply was airdropped at TGE for grass? Because it
Ooh,
was on Hyperliquid, it's like 31%, I think is what the number was for the airdrop today.
Yeah, so Hyperliquid's by
Um,
far probably one of the biggest. I don't think Grass was anywhere near as big. I
I just
will.
wonder whether it's in the range though of like, I mean, the most aggressive like low float high FDV coins have been like, 5-ish% or something at TGE. I
Let me see
think
if I can find
more
it.
normal range is like 10
It was 20. It was 24% released at TG.
at for
24.
grass. That's a lot. That's really high. That's very close to Hyperliquid.
Yeah.
So okay, the meta has so clearly changed.
Mhm.
Yeah, low float, high FDV is not being valued by the market as highly. You want to release much more of the float initially. I also think there's an interesting conversation around like lockups as well, where one way to look at I think like the worst outcome you can have is sort of what's happened to TIA over the last year, where you just had this consistent sell pressure because you had these periodic unlocks and the ability for stakers to sell their unlocked or their staking rewards. And the best way this has been framed to me is if someone believes in the project, you want them to be able to buy the token and think just about their belief in the project rather than have to consider like the complexity of various unlocks and the impact is going to be on price and supply. You want them to like you want the supply to be as predictable as possible, such
Mm.
that people are less playing supply arbitrage and trying to predict like short-term moves, and you can actually get people who believe long-term in the project to buy. Because if people who believe long-term in the project buy and they keep getting wrecked consistently by like unlocks again and again and again, they're going to lose faith and they'll exit, and then you're going to lose the most important backers of the project. So like that, there's the unlock component, and then there's also just like the initial how much float do you want available from the very beginning, which is more of like a psychological thing. People want to be rewarded for early usage of the product. There's
Yeah, definitely.
another, I would say the other dimension that's interesting with Hyperliquid is the way in which they actually levered unpredictability pre-token launch in order to enable like max predictability post-token launch. So I think what you want, how do I frame this? I think most projects in the space until this like recent meta shift have been very predictable pre-token launch. Like they had points programs where it was very clear. There's sort of like two ways you can design a points program. One of them is like you do X, like you do like $1 of deposits per day, 1 point per dollar deposits per day, or 1 point per dollar of trading per day. You know exactly what you do, what number of points it'll translate into. The other way that we broadly, like writ large, I've seen people design points programs is there's some fixed number of points per season, and there might be multiple seasons. You might actually not even know how many seasons they're going to be. And then the amount of points that is fixed within that season is distributed proportionally to the users according to some algorithm, but you don't actually know. You know what behavior is being incentivized, but you don't actually know how many points you as an individual user will get at the end of each epoch or season. And that's what I would call like more unpredictable pre-launch. And I think like Hyperliquid very effectively like flipped the meta to being unpredictable before the launch. Like there was tons of like meta speculation around like how many points you'd actually get at the end of a season, like what that translated into, etc., which just drove up engagement like exponentially. But because they've airdropped so much post launch, there's actually a lot more predictability in terms of what the supply will look like and what any potential unlocks will look like post launch. So you want for maximum speculation around the value of the network, speculation on like what activity translates into what reward pre-launch, and predictability about supply post-launch. And I think the entire prior meta was just an inversion of that. You knew exactly what you had to do to farm it, and then you just got consistently clobbered over and over and over by supply unlocks post-launch. So
Yeah. I wonder, is this part of Ostium's plan?
I cannot say anything. I will get in trouble if I say anything.
Of course.
But I'll, as you can probably intuit from what I've just said, we're thinking about it a fair bit.
Yeah. No, it's been very, very interesting for sure. What is exciting you kind of all three of you as well, like at the moment? I think we've covered one, obviously the AI agents and kind of just AI in general. But from a speculation perspective, is there anything else in crypto at the moment that's kind of interesting to you, or you think people are possibly not paying enough attention to at the moment?
I mean, I have to, I have to pump, our what we're building. I have to talk my book here. I think we sort of segued into a different conversation, but when Marco had mentioned the ETH BTC chart and that sort of that reversal in Bitcoin dominance and that changing, I think it was a good segue into this discussion around strategies and around how like broader macro trends translate into what you think like the impact will be on markets. So this is, we just pushed an update yesterday to the strategies page. I called it sort of like a micro update. We added a little bit in a prior version if you used it. There were smaller boxes and we added a little bit more description, made the names a little cheekier. And then we just added a bunch of new strategies. So I'll just walk through some of them. So if you look at the top right, I had a fun time naming this one. It's not DNA, it's USA. That's one of the all-time great Trump quotes. If you didn't hear that, if you weren't maybe like listening to Trump during COVID, this was he said this when he got COVID and they tested him, and he said they tested my DNA and they said it's not DNA, it's USA. One of the absolute all-time great quotes. Anyways, so this one is about the strategic reserve. So if the strategic reserve odds go above some number, you can define that. What we have it automatically preset to is just 5% above the current probability, long Bitcoin. I actually had an interesting comment on Twitter, which I need to still respond. I can't remember who commented it, but the question was, doesn't this assume that the poly market or the probability around the reserve will move more quickly than the underlying Bitcoin market? And like, why would that be true?
Yeah.
It's a great point. And the answer is, it actually doesn't matter, because the point of the strategy is if you think a catalyst for a broader rally is this, you will want to trigger a trade on it based on what you think the catalyst is, not necessarily because you think this market will move more quickly. So a great example would be the election, right? We had the most used strategy that we've had was the election night trigger, which we had preset to, if the Trump win probability is higher than 75%, then go long BTC. And I actually had it, I mean, this is the stuff that makes my day and like, makes my job so fun. Getting cold DMs from like 10 people saying, I was in a different time zone. I just set and forget. I like didn't want to stay up until 5 a.m. to watch the election.
Nice.
And I set it to be like hit 80%. I figured that was sort of like the point of no return. And it got triggered. And I actually pulled all the data from our trades from that night. And then I pulled all the poly market data timestamped by second. And we saw, so one, the highest trading volume hour, it's probably been exceeded since then, but at least over the first sort of like 4 weeks of the protocol, was between 10:30 and 11:30 p.m. on election night, which if you pull the poly market probabilities was exactly when the odds of Trump winning went from about 70% to about 85%, which means we had a bunch of people who put in trades where the trigger was 75%, 80%, 85, whatever it was, their threshold. And like that still would have been a good trade, even though obviously Bitcoin reacted probably more, it depends on the liquidity, to be honest, but there's actually doesn't matter whether like BTC or the Trump win market reacted more quickly, because if you were bullish Trump for the crypto market writ large, you'd want to hold that position. And if you had set that position and kept it open for the next 3 weeks, that would have been an unbelievably incredible trade. And many people have. So it's less so about like which market moves more quickly, is one a leading indicator for the other. We can go in a second to some other instances of strategies that we will be launching in the new year, where we actually think some of these will be more leading indicators. It's more if you think this is a catalyst for a broader trend, then you will want to, I can't disintermediate like whether Bitcoin is rallying for some other external reason or whether Bitcoin is rallying because Trump won, if I just set a limit order, which is like, if Bitcoin hits XYZ price, then like buy. So basically these like broader catalysts.
I just wanted to say that, like the same happened with the election, right? With many of these events, right? It's not like a CPI release. It's like, sort of the truth about the event like gets discovered progressively, right? But there's usually a moment where sort of like there's a massive jump on probabilities where we go super close to 100%. And if there's underlying markets that depend on the outcome of that event, they will move by then, right?
Yeah.
So the sort of the most front run signal that you can use to trade that market is that probability of the event happening, right? Like not an oracle resolution that just comes way too late, or the mainstream media, like whatever it is, all of that will lag, right? And you're going to miss a big part of the price action.
Totally.
So this is 100% the best way to bet on those things.
And
Totally.
are these just smart contracts that people deposit USDC in and kind of
No,
market?
so this is the beautiful thing. Putting that position on would have cost you nothing. So it was literally purely like a hedge. And here, so for one of the markets we have on there, if you can pull it up again or not, but one of the markets we have there is a Trump inauguration hedge. I call this basically like a free tail risk hedge. So let me just present two examples. So let's say I think there is like a very small chance that Trump is not inaugurated. Maybe he gets sick. Maybe he gets shot. Who knows what horrible thing could happen.
Yeah.
If I want to hedge myself against that probability, because my entire portfolio might go to shit if this, you can imagine, it would be a complete bloodbath for the markets.
Yeah.
Then there's two ways I can hedge myself. One, I can actually go and buy like no on Trump on Polymarket, which I then have to put money down, and that, because the odds are extremely low, that's probably worth putting, maybe a couple $100 or a couple, whatever it is you want to put on, because the multiplier in that is going to be insanely high. But there's a free way you can probably do it, which is look at this probability and ask yourself, where is it that you think like would be the point of no return? Like if suddenly this is what 96% right now for Trump being inaugurated, if suddenly that probability dropped to like, let's say 90% or 85%, there's probably some like, it would drop in seconds, and there's probably some really horrible thing that happened, which means you can put that on for free, because we actually don't, it's literally just a wallet that you delegate to trigger a trade on your behalf. You obviously need to have the amount of that capital in your wallet. So if you want to put in like a 20K short on BTC, you have to have that capital in your wallet and it gets triggered, but it doesn't need to sit anywhere. It's not like a resting limit order where we're like holding your capital. And you don't have to actually punt any money in the market itself. You can literally just put this on as a tail risk hedge. If the probability drops below whatever you think is the thing that would spook the hell out of the market, short BTC, and that could just sit there like for free basically. And like it doesn't pull any money from your wallet, like if it never hits that probability.
What would be really cool? What would be so cool? And I think this would be something that I'd use all the time. Is if like this, if like the stables that you kind of were using in this strategy were like yield bearing, maybe from funding rate arb on Ostium itself, or maybe lent out on Aave or somewhere, and then like when it's needed for this position, it gets pulled back and then kind of used to open this the short position here.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I mean, we're definitely this is on the roadmap right now. We just have USDC for collateral and deposits.
Yeah.
This is something we've discussed extensively internally. Like everything, I mean, you realize this when you're building a company, is everything is a game of trade-offs. Everything has a cost. There's a price to everything, your time, engineering hours. And so we've tried to be pretty ruthless about like, what do we need to prioritize to both build out the core product to be, competitive with, at scale, like FX brokers or any traditional market platform where you can trade a lot of these assets, but also to be sufficiently distinctive and novel and different and have new products, which is where there's going to be a lot we're building on top of the strategies product, which I can go a little bit more into without revealing too much, versus sort of the things that people ask for, like yield bearing stables or other deploying on their chains, etc. We've deprioritized that like a little bit, also just because I think with the yield bearing stables, besides Athena, which is a different case because that yield is coming from like broadly speculation in the crypto markets, but anything related to T-bills, I'm fairly confident like rates are going to go down more over the coming year. Maybe not as quickly as the market's pricing in, by the way, which is another interesting conversation. I think the last CPI print was like a little bit hotter than people expected. I think especially if the economy starts booming post-Trump, like you might actually see a return to inflation. And I will say, my one prediction from the Scoop podcast that I did in April that Frank asked me, what do you think is going to happen before end of year, was we'll see a return to inflation and they won't be able to cut rates as quickly as people think. I still think there's like a reasonably high probability of that happening, but regardless, if the crypto market goes crazy and rates go down somewhat, you're going to see like another, like a sort of yield inversion where it's not going to be as appealing to hold like a yield bearing stable where that yield is coming from a T-bill. So we would prioritize a stable where like the yield is from crypto.
I just want to go back to a point that I want to make to our traders. If you could share the screen again, Waj. I just wanted to emphasize that there's some key benefits of using this product. compared to like using prediction markets outright. One of them has to do with the capital efficiency of the no need for escrow because of a delegate call that we have in the smart contracts, where you specifically allow like the smart contract to execute that particular trade, right? So it's very safe and capital efficient compared to a limit order that requires an escrow. So this is thing number one. Of course, like you need to have that capital on your wallet by the time the thing gets triggered. So you have to watch out that for yourself. But again, there's no compromises of capital efficiency here. And then the second thing is the challenge with prediction markets on a lot of these long tail bets is if you want to make a bet with size to hedge against your big portfolio, for example, you are going to have to eat up a lot into the order book when you make that bet, right? So your spread, right, your price impact is going to be very significant, right? And the problem is that many of these markets, even though probabilities move very quickly, the resolution for this market takes days. And like I saw this when Polymarket, when I made my like election bets, and I wanted to get out because I got many of them right, and to buy Ethereum, right? Because it was sort of a more capital efficient way to park my capital, and I had to get out at like 96 and 95 cents and missing that 5% upside because I did not want to wait for the UMA Oracle to like find a resolution. So the great thing about our product here is that like you can make really large bets because a lot of these markets during periods where there's a big event that happens, they move, and there are markets with billions, if not trillions of dollars in liquidity, right? They move, right? Like basically one to one with whatever the event is happening. So you can think about it as the power of using the prediction market as a signal to convert into a big bet in a super liquid market. So you can think about it as a concentration of liquidity in the key markets that we offer on Ostium, which allows you to trade with much bigger size and minimal slippage, and you're still making the exact same bet that you would make on the underlying prediction market.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a great
basically
point.
unlocking, right, like the liquidity size of your bets significantly.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's why I just kind of went on Polymarket there just to see like what the price impact was. And really, you're talking about 10% plus just for a few $1,000s, which, you know, these markets are at times very liquid. And yeah, I guess kind of using these strategies when you can trade Bitcoin on these kind of macro news catalysts works a lot better. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic integration. And to the 400 or so people who are tuning in right now on your Friday, go and play around with it. I think you'll go and have some fun. And
It's right out on ostium.app.
very, very
I want
cool.
to add one more thing related to the strategies product. There'll be a series of additional sort of micro updates. We're like actively monitoring what are the biggest markets on Polymarket, what do people want to trade. Right now, the strategies product is limited to odds on Polymarket because it's the most interesting, cool, reliable source for data around what is going to happen in the world or what are the implied probabilities around those events taking place. That is just the beginning. And the major overhaul that we'll see of the strategies product in Jan is along two vectors that we're trying to optimize. So one of them is new data sources. I won't talk about all of them. We're still also, if you have ideas, actually, if you're tuning in and you're like, I really wish that when the BLS data came in, I could like track that. I could automatically have something where I don't have to spin up a script myself to like track the data that's coming in and then trade as a result of it. If that's what you want, or if you want the CPI print, like those are all things that we can do. So pulling from more macro data and other sources that shall remain unnamed. If you have ideas, please DM me, DM the company account, DM Waj, Marco, whoever. The second thing is and this is a broader thesis that I have around like how to create virality. I think, and this ties back into the sort of points program discussion that like we were having earlier in the hyperliquid airdrop, et cetera. I think another thing that projects have often, not done as well as they could have in the last year is slapping on a points program as an attempted way to like drum up speculation about the value of the network way too early before they've actually created like a viral loop within the application. So they slap it on as sort of a patch to try to, and I think like you really need to nail down the like viral loop within a product before you slap on like meta speculation around like the value of the network, which also is like critical. But I strongly believe, like, I think the DeFi apps that will break, I think like 2025 is the year of DeFi. I think the apps that will break out will be ones that leverage both like viral loop like natively within the product itself, independent of that like meta speculation. We're not like fully dependent on it. And the second thing will probably be like AI or like LLMs to like radically simplify the trading experience. And that sort of like nailing that viral loop. Sorry, I'm like sick, so I sound really nasally too. I don't usually sound like this. Nailing that viral loop, which includes sort of like referrals for sharing strategies, being able to export your strategies. Right now, you can share when you've like if you go through the app and you submit a strategy, right? You can post about it on Twitter, but I can't easily copy trade that strategy. I can't see it, and then I can look at what the parameters were, and I can like type them in myself. In the same way that when you click on a preset on that page, you click on the preset and autofills. You should be able to export your strategy, and anybody should be able to click on it and autofill exactly what that trade that you put through or that strategy you put through. You can then imagine a marketplace for all of this stuff. There's a lot you can do once you start to create this sort of like natural viral loop and a way for other people to copy trade each other's strategies. So all of that will be integrated like natively within the app. That's closing the viral loop. And the second part is like a lot more data sources. So what we built out initially was sort of a POC. We've gotten great feedback on it. And interestingly, a lot of the new like users to the app have come through the strategies page, even if they actually don't put through a strategy and they wind up like just trading through the normal trading interface. The strategy product has been like a good distribution mechanism because it is like it's genuinely novel and there are enough sort of edge cases that people want to execute a strategy on. But that was just a POC and there's a lot more coming. So
wow, 2025 has
the broader vision
a lot
is
cooking.
the broader vision is Ostium is the place to trade any asset, any strategy, any narrative. So you first need to build out the ability to trade like any asset easily with a wallet. And this is like where the custom Oracle and all this stuff comes in. We only have 10 assets today. That'll be expanding radically over the next couple of weeks and months. You should be able to trade anything you want, easily going long or short, another form of a perp, across traditional market assets, crypto assets, etc. And then the step sort of after that is maybe I actually don't know what I want to trade yet. I have a view on the market and a view on the world. How do I translate that into a trading strategy? And making like abstracting that way, making it as easy and simple as possible to use. So that's where we're going.
I like
Hopefully
it.
that's exciting for the people listening.
No, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I think I'm very excited for more of the exotic assets. I think I mentioned this once before, but stuff like orange juice futures, which I think lots of people have requested, sounds like very, very interesting. But I think either way, one of the like the strategies that you have right now really actually changed the way that users actually trading like directly based on news events in a simple and easy way. And I think kind of the way that you guys are sorting out this fragmentation problem is fantastic. So yeah, I think the users will definitely get some value from that for sure. I love that.
Cool. Anything else, Raj, on your side at IVX we should be paying attention to and excited about? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of our viewers are very familiar with kind of what we're building. And our first derivative product is a 0-day to expiry option market, which, like you guys, is perfect for trading the news because you can get incredibly high leverage and, of course, not get liquidated. And we're not just talking about 10x or 20x leverage. We're talking about 100x leverage or 200x leverage. If you have like an extra $10 or $20 or $50 that you want to punt, like this might be one of the best ways. And again, if you wanted to trade the Trump news or anything like that, you can do so in a very, very nice and efficient way with really, really high leverage. But we just introduced our liquidity product, basically the counterparty to the traders, which is called IVLP. We took some inspiration from GMX and Jupiter with their liquidity products, creating this kind of index of assets. So on our index, we will be having Bitcoin, ETH. There will be Bearer, as we are on Bearer Chain, and it will have Honey in, which is the native stablecoin for Bearer Chain. And like I think it's a really interesting instrument because you've kind of got that balanced exposure of your majors, Bitcoin, ETH, Bearer, and your stablecoins as well. You're earning the trading fees, and then because of the way that Bearer Chain works with proof of liquidity, you're going to earn some juicy Bearer governance token, as well as some other rewards that we're cooking up as well. So I think it's going to be a really interesting instrument. It's live right now, so you can go and play around with it on testnet. Who knows? Maybe you get some rewards for playing around with it as well. So yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things I wanted the viewers to just kind of play around with and have fun with, especially over the next month or so until we wait for the mainnet, which hopefully is coming sometime soon. So yeah, that's the main thing that I wanted to share. I think for those of you who haven't traded, for those of you who haven't traded on IVX, play around, because I think options are definitely underrated in crypto. I love perps as well, by the way. And I think derivatives in general are only going to grow from here. But I think specifically on-chain options haven't had the love that they deeply deserve. And hopefully we can kind of provide that to a lot of people.
And options can be paired up really nicely for sort of like, attracting liquidity with really attractive speculative like yield bearing strategies, which is always super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was also going to say, I like that you guys are doing 0 day to expire options. I think the major issue with the options market in crypto has been options are inherently more fragmented in terms of liquidity because you have like different expiries, different strike prices, etc. If you can cut at least one of those variables, then you can like reduce hopefully like the liquidity fragmentation by an order of magnitude because you only have one expiry.
Yep. So that's
So-
exactly what we've done. So we've got this one single liquidity product. It powers all of the assets in the like that you can trade at the moment. Similar to kind of how GLP was with kind of powering all of the assets that you could trade on GMX. Yeah, we don't have like hundreds of different strike prices. Each asset has 3 strike prices. Keep it nice and simple. I mean, we can even kind of simplify the UI even further by going on degen mode, where you don't even need to pick kind of what call option or put option you want to buy. You just choose up or down, and look at the leverage that you're getting right now. This looks pretty nice, 407x at the moment, which is because we're not, I guess, kind of getting closer to expiry. So yeah, I think this is like a really important thing that we've tried to solve, that liquidity problem with options, and hopefully this makes the experience when it comes to trading so much better. So yeah,
Very
You
cool.
can think about it as almost like a daily settlement, like on a futures, right? Like it kind of reminds me of just like, the CME standards, but with way more sort of leverage and optionality there, which makes it way cooler. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah.
it'll be really fun again in 2025 when we kind of develop this further and kind of build products on top of it, kind of what you guys are doing right now, which is part of our plan as well. So yeah, I think that's when I think the product's going to really shine through, when you have like these one-click strategies and kind of news trading and all kinds of things, which I think is like has been a very important part of what we're building as well. So yeah, I think
Awesome.
I'll leave it at that. We've covered a lot of IVX today. Actually, we've done like articles and kind of all things earlier in the day. So I don't want to throw too much down the users on this Friday evening. Yeah, otherwise, I think I'm pretty much happy to wrap it up there. I know we're almost at the hour mark. I just wanted to say, if you had any last questions or anything else that you wanted to add, like, yeah, we can talk about that now.
I was going to say, I saw you had the Caddy integration on your front end within the app, the little button on the right that helps you.
Oh yeah, I think that's just on my desktop. Actually, I don't think that's not on the
Okay.
app itself. No.
No, I mean, yeah, it's integrated within Chrome. It's a cool little widget.
I love my
just
little
wanted to-
widgets and stuff. If there's something that will
Yeah.
help me kind of save a few seconds, I'll definitely try it out.
Cool.
No, I
Nothing else
just
from my
want to
side.
I just
Go ahead,
want to
Marco.
say, like, Waj, thanks for having us. And like, I see the level of engagement in the community that you have here, like all the people tuning in, like really impressed by what you have done in getting like sort of a great community together of people that sort of love what you guys are doing and just love a great discussion on the markets. I want to thank everybody listening for, sticking with us.
I think it's something that we've been doing for a long time. This trading show that we do every Friday, we have guests on from different protocols. And I think at the end of the day, like all of us in the team, like we're all traders. We love to like speculate. I think that's like one of our favorite things to do. So if we can sit for an hour and yap about it for an hour every week, I think we're all happy to do that. So yeah, it's been really nice. And I guess like all of the community can get involved as well. They can ask us like, what they're trading. We can kind of have a look at their charts as well, and it gets like everyone really involved in what we really enjoy. So yeah, it's worked out well.
This is great. This is
I'm
great.
down
Talk to
to
people
do it
about what
again.
they're most excited about.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us on. This has
No, it's been
really
a pleasure. So I think with that, thank you everyone to the almost 400 people that are listening today. Appreciate your time. Loved it. We'll see you again next Friday. So take care. And thank you to the guys from Ostium for joining us.